Beyond the Senses, Exploring Clairvoyance. Welcome back to the Peony Path. In today's video, we'll begin our journey into the individual clairs, starting with the most well-known, clairvoyance. Clairvoyance derives from the French words clair, meaning clear, and voyance, meaning vision, translating to clear seeing. It refers to receiving intuitive knowledge through visual impressions that can manifest as images, symbols, or scenes that appear in the mind's eye, often providing insight into situations or individual. In this video, we're diving into what clairvoyance really is, its fascinating history, how science and culture view it, and even some practical ways it might show up in your life. Historical roots of clairvoyance. Clairvoyance has been recognized and revered across cultures for millennia. In ancient Greece, oracles like those at Delphi were believed to receive divine messages through trance states, often induced by inhaling sacred vapors. In Hindu and Buddhist traditions, the third eye, considered a spiritual center for insight, symbolizes the ability to perceive realms beyond ordinary senses, often cultivated through meditation and spiritual awakening. Similarly, during the Renaissance, mystics and alchemists frequently reported vivid visionary experiences, attributing them to a connection with higher consciousness or the divine. Indigenous cultures worldwide have long embraced visionary practices, such as dreams or shamanic rituals, as ways to communicate with spirits and access ancestral wisdom. Even in ancient Egypt, practices like scrying and dream interpretation were tools for accessing hidden knowledge. These historical roots continue to shape modern interpretations of clairvoyance, linking ancient wisdom to contemporary spiritual practices. Scientific and psychological perspectives. Despite widespread belief in clairvoyance across cultures, the scientific community has often met the phenomenon with skepticism, citing the lack of empirical evidence and the difficulty of replicating results in controlled settings. Research into intuition and the subconscious mind suggests that what we perceive as clairvoyance may involve heightened sensitivity to subtle environmental cues, such as body language, micro-expressions, or energy shifts. The brain processes these cues, potentially converting them into visual imagery or insights that feel like intuitive knowledge. Neuroscience also sheds light on how the visual cortex and subconscious mind might play a role in creating these mental impressions, drawing on stored memories or patterns. While traditional science remains cautious, these findings open the door to a deeper understanding of what might underlie clairvoyant experiences. In recent years, some researchers and theorists have proposed a potential link between clairvoyance and the quantum realm. Quantum physics introduces concepts like entanglement and non-locality, which describe how particles can influence each other instantaneously over vast distances. This interconnectedness could provide a theoretical framework for understanding how clairvoyance might operate beyond the limits of ordinary perception. The quantum field, a vast energetic matrix that underpins all existence, is sometimes viewed as a medium through which information might be accessed in ways that transcend space and time. While linking clairvoyance to quantum mechanics represents a new way of thinking, this lens invites further scientific exploration. Could clairvoyance represent a heightened ability to tune in to this unseen realm? Emerging research on the nature of consciousness and the potential for non-local communication may provide future insights into this compelling question. Clairvoyance in a biblical context. Biblical texts often address practices like sorcery and divination, condemning them as attempts to manipulate spiritual forces or seek knowledge outside of God's revelation. Sorcery, in this context, refers to rituals or spells aimed at controlling outcomes, while divination involves interpreting omens or seeking answers through oracles. These practices, prohibited in passages like Deuteronomy 18:10-12 and Leviticus 19:31, are viewed as relying on human will rather than trusting God's divine plan. In contrast, clairvoyance, particularly as described in spiritual traditions, can be understood as an intuitive experience of receiving visual insights without the intent to control outcomes. It focuses on receiving divine guidance or spiritual wisdom, rather than seeking power for personal gain. The Bible contains numerous accounts of visionary experiences that align with what we might call clairvoyance today. These include prophetic visions. Prophets like Ezekiel and Isaiah received vivid, symbolic visions through divine inspiration. For example, Ezekiel's visions of the Valley of Dry Bones conveyed hope and restoration to the Israelites. Dreams as guidance. In Genesis, Joseph interprets dreams that reveal God's plan for the future, ultimately saving Egypt and his family from famine. Spiritual discernment. In 2 Kings 6:8-12, Elisha perceives the movements of an enemy king's army without being physically present, demonstrating the ability to see beyond physical reality. Revelation of truth. In Acts 10:9-16, Peter experiences a vision that leads to the inclusion of Gentiles in the Christian faith, showcasing divine communication through imagery. These examples illustrate that clairvoyance, when understood as a divine gift, serves a higher purpose, offering guidance, wisdom, and insight aligned with God's will. Cultural variations in clairvoyance. Clairvoyance manifests in diverse ways across cultures, reflecting unique spiritual practices and worldviews. In indigenous traditions, shamans often enter visionary states to heal, gain wisdom, or communicate with spirits. In Celtic cultures, seers were revered for their ability to foretell events and interpret symbolic visions. Eastern philosophies, such as Hinduism and Buddhism, link clairvoyance to the activation of the third eye, a spiritual center for inner knowing and enlightenment. Meanwhile, African divination systems often involve visual symbols, dreams, or ancestral guidance. Exploring these cultural practices reveals the richness and diversity of clairvoyance as a universal yet uniquely expressed human experience. Clairvoyance in art and creativity. Throughout history, many artists and creators have described moments of visionary inspiration, where fully formed images, ideas, or concepts appear vividly in their minds. William Blake, for instance, attributed his poetic and artistic creations to divine visions, while surrealist painters like Salvador Dali drew heavily on dreamlike imagery that seemed to transcend ordinary perception. These experiences highlight the connection between clairvoyance and creativity, suggesting that clear seeing may act as a conduit for artistic expression. Whether viewed through a spiritual, psychological, or quantum lens, these moments of inspiration suggest that clairvoyance could be an integral part of the creative process, allowing artists to tap into something greater than themselves. Everyday manifestations of clairvoyance. Clairvoyance isn't always about dramatic visions. It often appears in subtle, everyday ways. Visualizing a friend or family member moments before they call or text you. Seeing flashes of an unfamiliar place only to recognize it when you eventually visit. Experiencing vivid dreams with symbolic imagery that provide guidance or clarity. Having spontaneous mental images that later align with actual events. These occurrences suggest that clairvoyant abilities may be more commonplace than we think. Could some of your everyday intuitive experiences be examples of clairvoyance? Strengthening clairvoyant abilities. Developing clairvoyance is like tuning into a frequency that's always present, but requires practice and awareness. Here are some techniques to help enhance this ability. Meditation. Focus on the third eye area, between your eyebrows, during meditation. Visualize a bright light or a glowing orb, and allow yourself to feel open to receiving images or insights. Regular practice helps strengthen intuitive sight. Visualization exercises. Imagine a vivid scene, such as a serene forest or a colorful sunset. Focus on the details and the colors, textures, and shapes. This practice sharpens your ability to receive and interpret visual impressions. Journaling. Keep a journal by your bedside to record any intuitive images or dreams. Over time, you may notice patterns or recurring themes that provide deeper insight. Symbol study. Explore the meanings of common spiritual symbols, such as the eye, lotus flower, or spiral. Recognizing these archetypes can make interpreting visions and impressions easier. Consistency is key. Even a few minutes a day can help you tune into your natural clairvoyant abilities. Clearing up misconceptions about clairvoyance. Let's address some common myths about clairvoyance that can get in the way of understanding it. Myth 1. Only a select few have this ability. Truth. Clairvoyance is a natural intuitive sense that anyone can develop with practice. Think of it like learning a new skill. Just as anyone can improve their sense of smell or hearing, you can also strengthen your inner vision. Myth 2. Clairvoyance is always dramatic or cinematic. Truth. Most clairvoyant messages are subtle, like a fleeting image, a color, or a symbol that appears in your mind's eye. For example, you might suddenly imagine a sunflower when thinking about a choice you're facing. It's not a blockbuster movie, but it's meaningful. Myth 3. Clairvoyance is only about seeing the future. Truth. Clairvoyance is more than predicting what's ahead. It often provides insight into your present situation or offers guidance, like recognizing a recurring pattern in your life or visualizing a peaceful solution to a conflict. Ethical considerations in clairvoyance. When exploring clairvoyance, it is important to approach it responsibly. Using clairvoyance to empower, heal, and bring clarity to oneself and others. Respecting privacy and boundaries ensures that clairvoyant abilities remain a positive force in both personal and collective contexts. Final reflection. Clairvoyance is a fascinating and multifaceted ability that transcends cultural, historical, and spiritual boundaries. Reflect on moments in your own life when you've experienced a sudden visual flash or intuitive insight tied to an image. These may be glimpses of your own clairvoyant abilities in action. By understanding its history, psychological basis, and practical applications, we gain a deeper appreciation for this intuitive gift. Developing clairvoyance can enrich our lives, offering clarity, insight, and guidance in navigating life's complexities. Our exploration doesn't end here. Clairvoyance is just one way our senses can transcend the physical. If you're curious to explore more about intuitive abilities, subscribe for upcoming content. Let's continue together toward greater awareness and understanding.